Okay, you tagged us in time. Welcome, everybody, to the Saratoga podcast. It is our season 3, you guys. Season 3 premiere today.
Wow.
We've been doing this for this will be our 3rd year and like our 70-something episode.
And we haven't killed each other yet.
I know, and some things don't change. Like Dan still doesn't have Wi-Fi.
I do have Wi-Fi. I have problems with the computer itself.
Problems with the general computer problems persist.
Well, this is going to be our first, our second new, I guess, city council, and how closely we followed it. It's the closest I've followed local politics my whole life. So it's going to be interesting to see how now with a new mayor and a new commissioner of public safety, how the dynamics of the city council changes and how they conduct the meetings and how our city operates going forward. But we have 3 commissioners who return. One of them is the Commissioner of Public Works, Jason Golub, and I believe we have him here with us, Robin. Is that correct?
We do, but really quick, before we jump into Commissioner Golub, I just want to say the last time I think we all chatted was just after the election in November. So like you said, Adam, a lot has transpired. We had kind of a wild month of December with some like marathon kind of crazy city council meetings that we can touch on in a little bit, followed by a very positive and uplifting feeling inauguration on Monday, where the new city council was inaugurated, and the first city council meeting was last night. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting Commissioner Golub on and getting his thoughts on the new year and the new dynamic. Dan,
sorry, I want to jump in. We were gone for a long time, and you alluded to that, Robin, but folks, we wanted to get on, and life got in the way in December, and we just made a conscious decision, like, you know what, we're just not gonna be able to do it this month. So we promised never to do that again, never to take an entire month off, or at least give you notice that we are. We know how much you rely on us, but thank you. We actually got really nice comments as the people missing us. So thank you for that, and we're ready to hit it hard in 2024.
Absolutely. Cheers to that. And I missed you guys in December. I mean, if I don't get my Dan and Adam fix on Wednesdays, I'm, my week is incomplete.
We've never even so much as gone out for a drink. Shame on us.
I mean, we don't want to tell people we actually booze every night, but let's keep that between the 3 of us. Anyway, let's welcome, for the first time on the Saratoga podcast, I might add, Commissioner Jason Golub. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. I think you were the lone holdout from the last city council in terms of getting people on the show. So we're so happy to have you today.
Well, I like to play hard to get, so here we are.
Love it. So, so much went on last year, and so much of the makeup of the city council has obviously changed going into 2024. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you're looking forward to accomplishing in this upcoming year with DPW, which is, of course, the department that you're the head of. You're the Commissioner of Public Works, and some of the things you're working on and kind of looking forward to.
Awesome. So, as you mentioned, DPW, we have can you hear me okay?
We have a little bit of feedback.
Okay, yeah, I hear that as well.
Echo is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, why don't we mute on our ends just in case? All right, carry on, Jason.
All right, is that better? Oh yeah, that seems better. Okay, so, DPW, we have an ambitious agenda for 2024, as we did in 2023. I've always said my mission with DPW is to expand how people think about public works in the city. We're obviously known for maintaining the infrastructure, the city, the streets, plowing the roads, picking up the leaves, but we've also focused on building new parks and playgrounds and more green space, sidewalks, trails, and tackling some of the kind of the intractable problems the city is facing, whether it's the homeless problem or affordable housing. So really, our 2024 agenda really kind of covers the waterfront. People are talking obviously about the tourist paid parking program, which we're leading, and I'm happy to answer questions about that. But beyond that, we're building a new park at Excelsior next to the water treatment plant in 2024. Wow. There'll be a community garden, there'll be a dog park. So that's one thing we're doing. We're expanding the parking lot at the rec center, which people have been asking for years because the parking there is an absolute disaster. We're going to continue to work on Grand Avenue. and taking first steps on building the sidewalk and multi-use trail there. We're working with Pitney Meadows and the Y on doing a light there and a sidewalk there. We're working with some private residents and the community on Veterans Memorial Park, and really just kind of expanding that and making that a state-of-the-art facility. We're going to have a lot of work in advance of the Belmont Stakes, obviously making the city look as spectacular as it possibly can. We're building a mountain bike park. So we have a ton going on in 2024, and I'm just trying to kind of hit the highlights really quickly. I'm happy to dive into any of them. We're doing an arts initiative, art in the city, where we want to do big murals throughout the city. We're calling it Public Works through Public Works. That's a dad joke. I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
I like it.
But again, it's really, expanding the vision and the reach of Public Works to really drive impactful change and the future direction of the city from an infrastructure perspective.
Jason, let me ask you a light question before we get into the, because I know we do want to talk about the paid parking proposal, but winter so far has been very mild, and skiers like I hate it. There's no snow. How much does having snow or not snow affect your budget? I mean, is this kind of a little windfall right now? Knock on wood. I know we're so early for the Department of Public Works, or is this all kind of averaged out over a year? I mean, is the amount of snow, how much does that affect your budget? Do you lose sleep over it?
No. I think, knock on wood, I would absolutely love to have a mild winter. I'm not a skier, and our team, it works around the clock when there's a snowstorm. And so, not having a ton of snow actually helps our team keep normal business hours and focus on other areas of Public Works. But we view it as there will likely be snow and rain and ice, and it's just a matter of when, not if. So if we don't have any snow by March, you can ask me that question again, and I'll probably give you a different answer on the budget impact. But right now, I don't see it being particularly impactful.
All right.
As a public sector worker who once relied on a little bit of overtime, I'm feeling for your employees.
And that is the reality. Is the team does get is able to get overtime by working 4 a.m. when they're plowing the streets.
Yeah.
That's a real issue.
So quick question for you as well. I feel like you've gotten so much done with DPW because of kind of this vision you've had for it, but also you seem to have a real knack for working with people across the political spectrum. Yeah. In a way that some of the other city council members haven't been able to do in the last 2 years. What's kind of your secret sauce? How have you approached issues here to unify people and get things done?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a secret sauce. I'm just focused on getting shit done versus party politics or politics, period. My view is Public Works is for the entire city. I'm not doing Public Works for Democrats or Public Works for Republicans. And so for me, whoever I need to work with who has that shared vision and who wants to get stuff done for the city is someone I want to partner with. And I find that you just get more done that way anyway, rather than infighting amongst the council or fighting with external parties. It's not productive. So it's just I've tried to avoid it when I can and treat everyone with respect and just focus on getting the work of Public Works move forward.
Yeah, cheers to that. That's a great approach. And obviously it's been very effective. So one of the things you mentioned that you are working on that I know has been like a very hot button issue in Saratoga historically has been the idea of paid parking. And I know people like me, admittedly, hear paid parking and are like, oh, hell no, because, it brings to mind one whole vision, which to me would be like a hellscape. But you have a really specific proposal that you're rolling out. And I would love for you to kind of give people an overview of what that is going to look like. Yeah,
sure. So, we are certainly aware of the historic, starts and stops with paid parking in the city. And we looked at every study that's ever been done. And we talked to most everyone who's been involved in paid parking to learn both what worked, but also obviously what didn't work. And I think we were very intentional with our approach to not bite off too much at this point and really focus on, one, how do we focus on providing services still for the residents so they have free parking while creating new revenue for the city to, again, tackle some of our intractable problems, which is passing that on to tourists. And so really our focus is on tourist paid parking in the garages and surface lots during track season. And that is
really important.
Right. And so when people hear paid parking, they think, oh, now I have to pay to park on the streets of the city. No, residents and people who are employees of our businesses will get passes, and they'll be able to park on any of the city streets. And importantly, tourists won't. Tourists will not have those passes. And so if you want to go downtown, you park, and you park as long as you want. And the the idea is to push them into the garages and service lots where they're paying. And this will generate $2 or $3 million of new revenue for the city, which we will be able to use to not raise taxes. We'll be able to use to fund our third fire station, to build a homeless shelter, whatever it may be. Our city continues to grow and continues to have bigger city problems we need to address. And there aren't that many revenue levers you can pull. You can really create significant new revenue for a city, and this happens to be one of them. And so we really studied. It's not year round. It's just it's 5 months of the year. It's June to October. Sorry, it's May to October. So it's really just the high season. And then the rest of the year, the garages and everything else are free for everybody. And so we sat down with as many constituents as we could. We sat down with members of the DBA. We sat down with individual business owners. We sat down with the chamber. We sat down with special assessment, trying to get a sense of, are you directionally on board with this? And for the most part, the answer was yes. You've designed this in a narrow enough way where it solves a problem and creates new revenue and doesn't have a negative impact on our residents.
Can I jump in there on a problem? Can you clarify? And I'm not being negative here, but I just, and I know there's problems, but what is the key problem? What is the problem, or what are the key problems?
When you say problems, what do you mean?
Well, you just said it solves a problem, and I guess I'm inquiring what is the most. Is there
sorry, when I say it solves a problem, it's the problem of creating new revenue sources for the city. So if the problem is solved, it could be anything from, our garages have become homeless shelters. Our garages are not safe. And so now we have new revenue sources to make them clean and safe and have cameras and security. It could be the funding of a fire station. It could be any number of downstream problems that it solves. But the problem is, without raising taxes, there aren't that many sources where you can pull new significant revenue for a city. And parking happens to be one of them.
I would also argue that we don't do parking well, just in general. No one says wow, Saratoga Springs is a great place to go find a parking spot in. So
right.
Just
and that is part of the reality. We looked at, there are 80 or 90 different parking rules and regulations right now that apply to the city streets downtown. It's actually kind of a nightmare. And part of our process will be streamlining that, so it will be much easier for residents to understand, I can park here for the day versus 2 hours here, 1 hour here, loading dock here. It's really not a consistent system as it stands now, which creates chaos for both residents, but also for tourists. And so part of our effort will be to streamline that as well.
Commissioner, I commend you on this report that was done. I liked how you studied Newport, Rhode Island, and a lot of New England cities, roughly Saratoga size. Did you look at cities that decided, no, we're just going to keep the free parking, we're not going to go the paid route? Did you have a chance? And maybe that was in there. I apologize if I missed it. But I'm just wondering if there was anybody that stayed the route that Saratoga's been going and just kept going.
So Dan, I'll be honest with you, there are not a lot of cities in America where paid parking is a thing. Free parking is a thing anymore. Most cities most cities you're going to go to, you're going to pay for your parking, and that's just the reality. What we wanted to do is look at how cities have had success or failures, and specifically on cities that are similarly situated to Saratoga Springs. So like Newport, Rhode Island, similar population, similarly a tourist destination, they have a very robust parking program. And so we learned a lot about what worked and what didn't work from them. Same with Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And so we didn't want to reinvent the wheel here. We wanted to look at cities that had succeeded with this, learn from them, and then either iterate on what they'd done or implement what they'd done.
Jason, have you looked at yet? I know you kind of you referenced it a little bit, the what the city is going to profit from doing this, but there's going to be a cost to administering this, and there's going to be revenue taken in. After the revenue taken in minus the cost to administer, do you have an idea of roughly what the city will bring in each year from this program?
Yeah, so we do, and our presentation walks through that a bit, and it's somewhere in that $2 to $2.5 million. We in year one, we believe, and that's a very, very conservative estimate. We use that as basically the garage is being 35% filled as our revenue generating number, and so assuming that they're not going to be filled 35%, that number could be significantly higher. To your point, our expenses in year one might also be significantly higher than we're anticipating. And so we err on the side of being conservative with the revenue projections for year one.
I will say on the expense side, just because when I was doing public safety, we looked into doing paid parking in some of the garages. It actually was like shockingly less expensive than I thought because of how we issue parking tickets already. That system has systems in place to do paid parking. So implementing it was like shockingly easy and inexpensive if we had gone that route, which was just surprising to me at the time.
Right. And some of them will be one-time setup costs essentially. And once you have those, they're not going to be repeated. We're not going to be putting in, parking meters every year. Once we put in the initial group, we're done. And so that will also increase our revenue.
Would that be capital expense, or would that just go in? I guess
no, it's not. That isn't a capital expense.
So I know that the safety and security of people when they're in parking garages, specifically, I know the Woodlawn parking garage has been an issue. So would the revenue be earmarked in part to, bolster security in the garages?
Yeah. So the idea is essentially that the city garages would effectively look like the city center garage. They would be very safe. They'd be very secure. There'd be cameras. There'd be people there 24/7, and it would be someplace where we would want to send our visitors. It would be somewhere where our visitors would feel safe. And that's a lot of what I heard from the business community. Yes, parking is free today in a garage, but nobody wants to send their customers to that garage.
Yeah.
It's not safe. There's urine and feces in the stairwells. There's people sleeping in the stairwells. If you run a hotel, if you run a business, that isn't where you want to send your customers. And so there is the reality of this is going to significantly upgrade these garages, which is good for these businesses. And we've heard that. And even the employees, a lot of employees don't feel safe parking in that garage. They'll go park in the city center garage, or they'll move their car every 2 hours on the street because the garage they don't feel safe there.
So sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You're going to think I'm not in support of this, and let me clarify. I am, but I do have some skeptic type questions.
That's fine.
May to October, surely as night follows day, it just seems to me that's going to be extended into New Year's Eve to start, perhaps May to December 31st and so forth. What would you say to me or someone that says it will be extended? Maybe that's not a bad thing, but I just feel certainly at some point it'll be extended.
So part of what our goal is to make sure that we're building a program that is supporting our local businesses. And the reality is in the off season, that isn't when our local businesses get the majority of their revenue. And so we don't want to do anything that undermines their ability to generate revenue in the off months. And forcing people to pay for parking in December when they aren't generating as much revenue from tourists is not something that we're looking to do. The idea is to do this during our high season when we have the most tourists and we can generate the most revenue, and not to create a situation for our local businesses in the off season where it might undermine their ability to succeed. So I don't have a plan to expand it beyond our high season.
Thank you.
Well, I think it sounds promising, and I think it really does, the way you're proposing it, address a lot of the kind of knee-jerk concerns that I've had in the past, and I know other Saratogians have had in the past about the idea of paid parking.
There will continue to be conversations, and intelligent people can disagree on whether it's a good idea or not. I heard some comments last night that were saying this is not a great idea, and the example was around the movie theaters, and it felt, that particular example didn't feel correct to me, only because the parking is free for residents. And so why would a resident not come downtown and use our movie theater and go to the Wilton Mall? Because Wilton Mall has free parking. Well, the Wilton Mall is a ghost town, empty, and it's free parking for years. So the free parking isn't drawing people to the Wilton Mall, I'll tell you that. So some of it is just, I hear what people are saying, and I respect that people have looked at this before. We're trying to do this in a thoughtful way that will still encourage all of our residents to come downtown, because the parking is still going to be free for them.
Yeah, I want to add, I think as somebody who was born and raised here and saw the transformation the city went through, I do believe it's a different city. We do have big city problems now. We're not facing the same challenges, and I agree. I think it's time, and I appreciate your measured approach to this, instead of just, all right, all paid all the time everywhere. All right, let's take a bite off of the busiest season and do it in a way that it impacts our tourists and not the locals who already pay a lot of tax here. So for whatever it's worth, I think it's a great program.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I agree. I think that's where the disconnect often happens, is people who look at Saratoga Springs from 30 years ago and say it didn't work then. And I'm like, well, this isn't a town anymore. This is a small city. And we have small city problems, and we need to generate revenue to solve those problems. And these are problems that our community wants us to solve. And so this is an avenue to do that without negatively impacting the residents.
I also think, though, one of the most important things you said when you're, talking about this, that I think a lot of times is skipped in terms of the step, and, creates problems, is you talk to all the people who have researched this and studied this in the past, because it has been so studied, so discussed, so debated, and there is a wealth of knowledge that exists already from people who have tried to address this issue in the past. And so just talking to those people, talking to the stakeholders, talking to the business community, and getting all that feedback is just, in my opinion, how you have to do things in Saratoga if you want them to be successful and productive. And so, taking those first steps, just lays the groundwork for success. So,
well, let's hope.
Well done, sir.
But we have a comment, and somebody asked about this parking. I mean, so have you given thought yet? There we go. I'll let you read the comment.
I think I'm not sure you guys are at that level of detail yet with this plan.
Yeah. This is where we are now. We're starting to look at the logistics of how to implement. And so I don't have an answer for that question today, but I'm happy to come back on in a few weeks and get into the kind of the nitty-gritty of this is what it will look like in practice.
Awesome. Right. Really quick, because I know we've had you on for longer than discussed already, but I just would love to kind of get your feedback on what the feel and kind of vibe is of the new council with two new, a new mayor and a new public safety commissioner. You had your first city council meeting last night. Did it feel different? How did it go?
Yeah, so look, I think they're in day 3 now, so they're drinking from the fire hose. Every day is probably a very new day for them, and so I'm trying to give them as much support as I can in terms of this is what I've found to work, this is what I've found to not work. And I think John did an excellent job with the first meeting last night. It was a short meeting, which I think you all know is a good meeting in my book. I think he's looking to implement some new rules, which he got some feedback from the public last night that they weren't necessarily all in favor of. My biggest concern, which I've voiced to him and I will continue, is to make sure that whatever rules you put in place are applied evenly and objectively across the board. When you start applying them to different people in different ways, it doesn't really matter what the rule is, you're going to run into trouble. And so that to me is the most critical piece, is put in place the rules you want to run the meeting the way you think this meeting should be run, but understand that once you start, applying it unevenly, it's gonna be problematic.
By the way, on this show, we can clap back.
So I think he heard that, and I think that we will continue to iterate on those rules. And look, I think both him and Tim will bring a lot to the table, and I'm excited to work with the whole council.
Yeah, it does seem to me like everyone is really committed to working together with the other city council people.
Look, to me, I mean, I'll say this until I'm out of office. Like, as long as you're looking to get stuff done and work together to get stuff done, I'm a fan, and I'm happy to work with you. And it's when you get into the politics and the fighting and the disrespect that I largely lose interest, and we'll just focus on DPW.
if I can add, Monday's inauguration, nice and political events do not go together that often, but that was one of the nicest feel-good events that I've been to in probably decades.
Yeah, I agree.
It was good.
And I hope it continues.
And your remarks were fantastic.
Thank you. I don't think acrimony leads to success. I think quite the opposite. And I hope that the way that the inauguration went will be how things continue.
Well, and clearly voters don't like the acrimony either. That was clearly the feedback we got in November. So,
right.
Well, I know we all have really high hopes, and we're all grateful for a functional and civil city council. And it sounds like, DPW is just rocking it as always. So kudos to everyone in your awesome department.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you for the playground at Waterfront Park, by the by.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I mean, I went over there. The view when you're on the swings is amazing.
Yes. Folks, check it out over on Crescent Avenue.
But yeah, that side of town, for whatever reason, just did not have a playground, and so we'll continue to put in more playgrounds and green space. Excited for 2024.
Parks and playgrounds all day long.
Yeah.
We're sold. Parks, playground, paid parking. You've got some nice alliteration here.
All peace.
Well, Commissioner, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your service, and thank you for signing on for another 2 years.
It's my pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was great.
Robin, a bit of housekeeping. I don't know if you saw in the chat. Does our next guest have a link?
Not that I sent, but I can send.
Okay. Sorry, I emailed you. I should have given you a better heads up.
Hold on, one sec. Excuse me, one sec. I'll send it right now. One sec.
Okay. Adam, what'd you do for New Year's?
Dance. Well, what do you think? What? So you're in favor of this paid program, paid parking, huh?
More than not, partially because I thought, as was said here, it was well researched, well done. I think with from my personal perspective, not that Commissioner Golub has a halo above his head, but he's got a certain amount of, or quite a bit amount of credibility. So if he's, if he's creating and so forth, it's not an automatic with me, but I'm more upbeat than not.
Yeah, I feel like the amount of cities I go to that are like Saratoga they all have paid parking now. So it just seems that that's where people expect it. It's not going to make us a pariah. And we are, you have in business, you call it the economies of scale, where you keep growing so big, and all of a sudden then to take that next step is huge investments. Well, we're as a city have grown to that next step where we're now a small city. We're now with city problems, whereas before we were a small city with rural problems that were a lot cheaper than city problems. And so we're going to have to start to find ways to equitably raise revenue. And as much as I hate that saying, as a fiscal conservative, cities do need money to run. So
yeah, and to your point, I expect to pay when I go to a city that's a tourist area. I just like, okay, if I don't pay, I'm going to get towed. I know it. So where do I pay? How do I pay?
But it's also like, the expense of the city do continue to increase. And especially like you look at the third fire station, it's such a perfect example. Now, I wish that, we had kind of planned and funded slightly more comprehensively for the third station. But be that as it is, you don't have a lot of options in terms of raising revenue unless you just want to keep raising property taxes, which I think is not the right avenue to go, And so I think Commissioner Golub has, identified the paid parking revenue stream and approached in the right way. So, yeah, I mean, I was like die hard against paid parking, and I'm pretty much on board with this plan.
Hey guys, let me ask you a question. While we're waiting for our next guest, let's I always love the day after the Super Bowl, they're already picking the who's going to win the next Super Bowl. So, the 3 days after inauguration, who do you guys see as the Democrats running for the next mayor? Let's play a fun game.
Well, I could see our previous guest being an excellent candidate for mayor if you were so inclined. I think he's someone that, could unify a lot of different factions of the Democratic Party and just kind of voters in general in Saratoga. So I could see.
Would he be your favorite? Like your favorite, meaning your odds? Who's the 3-1 favorite to run next year at the Democratic line?
I don't know. I mean, I know that I think, actually, interestingly, I also think Commissioner Moran has expressed interest in running for mayor at some point. And so I don't know. I'd have to think about that before I gave odds.
I agree. Commissioner Golub would make an excellent mayor, but it is clear to me, based on 1.5 meetings so far, that Commissioner Moran is running for mayor in 2025. I'll take bets on that. It is clear to me the way he's acting, his demeanor. He's trying to be the alpha male at these meetings. He's
do you think that's the right way?
The smartest person in the room. It's clear to me. I'll take bets on that.
I don't know if being the alpha male is a great
I agree. It's annoying. I guess that's my point. It's but it seems that way to me. That's only my opinion. That's my observations.
All right. So I'm going to put my money on Ron Kim 2.0 is coming back.
Stop.
I think.
Oh my God.
I think Ron did a lot of moves on his way out that kind of signified that it wasn't done yet, and so I think if you look at the numbers, if Mattison wasn't in that race, it was a close race. I think the Ron lost because of Mattison.
I don't think the Democrats want Ron Kim back.
Yeah,
with you. I really don't.
He feels
I'd be shocked. I don't think Ron Kim wants to come back.
I feel like the Republicans don't want Trump. The Democrats don't want Biden, but we still get him. You
see
in politics, legacy seems to carry the day.
If John Safford chose not to run again, I could see some of the former Republican candidates wanting to run again, though. I could see Heidi West wanting to run again, now that there seems to be an avenue for Republicans to win on the Republican side if John didn't run again.
Good question, though, Adam. Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we do have our next guest. Speaking of, I think you guys were just chatting about your New Year's. Robert Millis, are you there, sir?
Yep, here I am. Hey,
here he is.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm hunting for my ski jacket I lost because I'm going skiing this weekend.
You are? Is there snow to be skied on?
Yes, it's called Utah.
All right. Yes, totally. That sounds great.
But I did, in all the commotion at the city center this weekend, I lost my ski jacket.
Well, that stinks. Sorry about that.
Well,
hey, great applause for you and so many others. I know it's not just Robert Millis, a lot of entities, a lot of people. What a ridiculously terrific weekend with New Year's Eve it was. I was there with my family for the fireworks, the magic show, family friendly. Then it gets more adult in the evening. I'm just high on everything that went on this weekend.
Yeah, can we give our guests actually a proper introduction so people know who we're talking to?
That's right. Good point.
So Bob Nellis has been instrumental in the reimagining of how the city of Saratoga Springs celebrates its New Year's and really orchestrates all of the entertainment, pretty much runs the show. Bob, would you agree? On New Year's Eve? You really are.
A whole bunch of us.
Well, I'm going to give major credit to you. I mean, you really pushed this kind of reimagined New Year's Eve, and it's just been such a success. So we are thrilled to have you on to talk about how it went this year and get your feedback on how it went and, celebrate 2024.
Do you want to give us some kind of a recap of from your perspective, how well it went?
Oh, I think Bob might be.
You froze on us.
Yeah, there's a signal issue here. If you are you?
See, Robin, it's not just me.
You're breaking up a little bit, Bob.
All the old guys.
You know, we should have asked Commissioner Golub about the freaking sci-fi, Adam. We need broadband, people.
I know.
Bob, are you back?
All right, how about now? Am I back?
Awesome. Yes.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I think Dan had just asked you.
Dance for dance. No doubt about it.
Oh, man,
It was an overwhelming
shame.
success.
overwhelming success.
Simple. Oh, well. Yeah.
Bob, do you have a sense of how many
Not only from our point of view, but more important. All right. Maybe
All right,
try
I'm
again
gonna-
some other
I'm
time.
gonna try again. Do you have a sense of how many people came out this year to celebrate New Year's in Saratoga?
About 7,000 people downtown. Yes.
Wow. And there were so many different entertainment options for people. What were kind of the most popular or kind of the most successful?
Well, obviously that outdoor block party experiment was a great success. We closed off the street. We put a big stage up there, and we had magic shows and rock and roll concerts for the early fireworks crowd. That was great. We had a few thousand people there for that free portion. At 6:12, they turned around and watched the fireworks, which again were a smash hit. And then our music festival kicked in before and after that.
Can I just weigh in on the fireworks? I said this in the past, and I just want to say it again. The 6 p.m. fireworks are transformational. Especially if you have kids, celebrating New Year's Eve it's night and day, because the kids can really enjoy the fireworks. You're not stressed out about they want to stay up until midnight. You can then have dinner after. I mean, it just makes it so much more enjoyable for everybody. And it takes so much stress out of the equation for, me as a parent with 4 kids. And it just has been amazing. And changing them to going off of the parking deck has been incredible. You can just walk out your door and see them from every vantage point. It's just spectacular. And it just sets the tone for the whole evening. So I just commend you on getting that done and scheduling them for when you scheduled them for. And I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, agreed. Funny though, I still get some kickback. A few people here and there still want midnight, but hey, to me, that's all about the kids. So that worked. The rest of it, the Music Fest was great. Our headline acts, that big room was packed for the 2 headline shows. Our external venues were packed. And we snuck into the afternoon this year with some entertainment, and downtown was packed with people from 1 o'clock on. So we accomplished an awful lot. We made a lot of people happy, vendors, hoteliers, restaurateurs. But most importantly, we made a lot of attendees and visitors to the city happy.
Okay, Bob, I have a proposal for you. Do you think you could take over 4th of July for us?
No, that's somebody else's operation. Yeah.
Fine.
How did you go from year 1 to year 2? Was there significant growth? Is this something that's catching on? Do you see bigger, better things for year?
Yeah, we were plus 30% this year compared to last year as far as revenue and attendees. So yes, that's pretty good stuff. And we hope to go forward. The challenge we got next year is New Year's Eve, I think, is on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something this coming year. That might be a little bit of a challenge. We'll see. But we'll pivot and we'll make it work, and we're going to continue to have a grand time and keep it fun.
Any teasers on anything you'll be? Obviously, this is early. I'm asking this just for fun, but any ideas? Maybe an ABBA reunion right here on Broadway or something.
I can assure you that won't happen. But I do a data dump after this thing's out of the way, because I have to prepare for my next big festival down south here. So I literally do a data dump. I sleep for 4 days. I'm just waking up now. Now I have to concentrate on Tampa, my next gig, and we'll start thinking how we do this thing again come April, May.
You're going to bring in a big hip hop artist for me, right, Bob? Isn't that the plan for next year?
No.
I like to tease Bob because he knows I'm like a big hip hop person. So I like to rib him with my, musical nonsense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe hip hop. Yeah, we'll definitely. We had a little bit of hip hop this year. We had that. I think I used to tease you on the hardcore rap is what you wanted, right?
Some call it hardcore rap. Some call it, no, I'm teasing.
No, hip hop's all right. We have hip hop, but yeah, we'll figure it all out when we get to April, May. In the meantime, I gotta buy a new ski jacket.
All right, sir. Well, we're so appreciative for all of your efforts, and thank you for coming on and updating everyone. And hopefully we can have you on prior to New Year's Eve this upcoming year to tell us how things are going as you as the planning starts coming together.
I think he froze again.
Okay.
I think he's frozen.
Congratulations, Bob. Really
Very good. Yeah,
you guys did a great job. So
Thanks
Have
for
fun
joining
in
us.
Utah.
have fun in Utah and down south.
Oops,
True.
sorry.
I
All right,
saw
so-
him New Year's Eve, and we know Bob is a guy, got the hoodie and so forth. I'm telling you, he looks so spiffed up. I thought he was getting married.
Oh yeah, yeah. He did. I remember, or 2 years ago when he first did this. We had our reservations about his ability to pull it off, but boy, he really proved all the naysayers wrong. They do a great job. So
Yeah, he's got a history of creating events. He's a music promoter. He's got a history of putting events like this together, and maybe New Year's Eve was the next step for him, or one of the biggest. I don't know. So sounds like what he's doing down in Tampa is pretty significant. But he's got a lot of history here.
Yeah, I mean, I was in one of the early planning meetings for last year's New Year's Eve event, and when you listen to him talk about musicians and regional, local, national bands, I mean, it's like I felt like he was speaking a different language. I mean, just the depth of his knowledge was really, really impressive. Definitely knows what he's doing. You guys, I want to pivot back to politics really quickly if we have a quick minute, because I want some predictions from you guys on how long we hope or think the civility on the city council is going to last. And what do you think? Because right now it feels really positive. I feel like everyone's on the up and up, but inevitably.
I'll let Adam go first.
I don't have a short answer, and the reason is I think it's important we talk about there's a city council meeting last night, and the biggest takeaway there was the new rules for decorum set forth by the mayor, and essentially what it does makes the city police sergeant at arms.
You guys, who's got bad audio? Sorry.
I don't know. I mean,
Blame Dan.
Okay.
I'll mute.
Sorry, Adam. I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No problem. So essentially what it does is it limits distractions by the gallery during public comment, and it limits distractions during. Do you want? Because I think it's important because I think I think this is going to be the trigger point of the next chaos at City Hall. So do you want to go over the highlights?
Do you want me to read these?
Yeah.
Quickly. So, rules of decorum and order. Members of the public shall not engage in behaviors which disrupt the conduct of the meeting. Prohibited conduct includes disorderly, disruptive, disturbing, delaying, or boisterous conduct, which may include but is not limited to hand clapping, stomping of feet, whistling, making noise, use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling, or similar demonstrations which conduct interrupts, delays, or disturbs the peace and good order of the proceedings of the council. B, signs, placards, and distribution of literature are prohibited within the meeting room during a meeting. Number 3, sergeant at arms. The Saratoga Springs Police Department or any member of the SSPD is designated as the sergeant of arms for the purpose of maintaining order at the Saratoga Springs City Council meetings. Enforcement of rules of decorum. Upon a violation of the rules of decorum, the presiding officer shall verbally request the person or persons violating a rule or rules to cease the conduct giving rise to the violation. If the violation continues, the presiding officer shall verbally warn the persons that they may be required to leave the meeting room if the violation continues. If the person does not cease the violation, the presiding officer shall declare the person to be out of order, at which time the sergeant of arms may take steps to remove the person or persons from the meeting room. If applicable, such person may be subject to civil and or criminal penalties that may apply to their conduct. So that's kind of like that's kind of the meat of it. I know for me, I do think the consistency is like the most critical part here. I did think that the specificity of disruptive, disturbing, boisterous conduct, hand clapping, stomping of feet, whistling, making noise, profane language, I routinely violate those rules at city council meetings. It's hard not to have like natural human reactions sometimes. And so I think that's a little overreaching, to tell people they can't clap or make any kind of natural noise as a reaction to what's happening at the meetings. But aside from that, I'm hoping that the spirit of these new rules, works.
To the credit of the mayor, Commissioner Cole and others, I believe, I'm not sure, but they didn't do this in a vacuum. They at the pre-meeting yesterday morning, I believe it was, they discussed how they went to the Committee on Open Government to solicit input and feedback and so forth. And the Committee on Open Government, it's an offshoot of, I believe, New York State Department of State. They administer the open meetings law, or at least they're considered a point of contact for it, as well as the Freedom of Information request. So that is the experts, if you will, in state government to address those issues. So they didn't just do this willy-nilly. They did it with some research.
We have a comment here that's actually a good distinction. It's disturbing clapping that's prohibited, not clapping. Semantic, but maybe the difference is important. So yeah, I
was gonna at the pre-agenda they talked about this, and they essentially said, "Are people, you kind of have to look a little bit at intent of what people. If it's just a kind of a spontaneous, all right, it's one thing. If you're trying to disrupt the person who's up there speaking and who's using their 3 minutes, then that's what becomes a problem. And my concern is with the people who argue with these issues, it's a moving target with their problem. Before it was, people just have a First Amendment right to speak their mind. No, it's not absolute. You can't, so it wasn't. So now that we have rules, now people are shifting. Oh, well, it's how are you going to make they're applied evenly? And it's, the BLM the members were saying that, the lady from saying BLM was targeted. BLM was targeted because they're the ones grabbing the microphone out of people's hands. So, that's why there were arrests made there. So this argument now, like, oh, well, you can't apply it. You have to apply it. I don't think there's any issue there. I think people are looking to create drama with it or not. The fact of the matter is rules that we have to now that will keep our meetings running and keep them from being shut down and make sure everybody has a chance. Every citizen has a chance to speak freely and without being imposed on or intimidated.
Okay, so I have to disagree with you in that. Oh, Adam, we lost you. Are you back? In that over the last 3 to 4 years, I have witnessed these rules be applied so inconsistently. I mean, people, as recently as the meetings in December, people who are speaking favorably about the mayor blew past the 4-minute time cutoff and were able to just keep talking and talking. Whereas people who are being more critical were, gaveled down and shut down exactly at the 4-minute cutoff. And I think things like that are really important to be consistent about, because it's not being consistent, and especially doing it in a way that's, showing your political favoritism, just makes it kind of open season for any kind of behavior and just breeds, conflict at those public comments, at the public comment period. And I think that, you really have to be consistent. And I don't think we've seen that over the last 3 or 4 years.
This will be a significant test for Mayor Stafford to make sure that he does do just what you're saying, Robin, evenly, fairly, because if he doesn't, it could lead to litigation and more problems, yeah. Attorney General, et cetera. We don't want that. We do want people, even if I 1,000% disagree with them, they have the right to speak, and I want them to speak, but just not to the level that Adam was pointing out, where we're ripping microphones out of your hand. But your earlier point, Robin, about when will it get into chaos? What I'm hoping, and maybe I'm a fool here, and I know you guys probably agree with me. The dissension, the disagreement, even fighting is okay, and really necessary to some degree. What we don't want is the 2023 version of fighting, which was a nuclear battle. It was, to the point of complete dysfunction and chaos. But even if there's spirited fighting and it gets a touch ugly, that, I love the fact that we have Republicans and Democrats on this board. I don't want all Republicans. I don't want all Democrats. I want dissension. I want spirited debate. I want strong disagreements, and that can benefit us. So even if it looks a tad ugly on occasion, as long as it doesn't devolve like it did last year into the total ugliness, I'm good with it. And I'm hoping that's what happens, that it doesn't get overboard. It doesn't devolve into complete dysfunction.
Yeah, because you can maintain professionalism and disagree and have a disagreement at the city council table. But I think especially with, Mayor Kim and what was happening, in the last 2 years was just the fighting got just so nasty, and just there was zero professionalism, and it just went from 0 to 60 in a way that was embarrassing and difficult to watch and had nothing to do with getting the business of the city done. So I think our council members now all have the ability to, keep it together, as far as I can tell. Dylan sometimes be a little bit of a loose cannon, but
To answer your question, Robin, I think this devolves that first time that the city council's tested, because I feel like they're going to be. I feel like people are going to show up, that they're going to be disruptive. They're not going to yield when their time's up. And they're going to be, they're going to be asked to leave. And this is a big thing. Commissioner Moran at the big pre-agenda meeting kept on coming back to was if you lay hands on somebody, blah, 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 if you're on video, that was the worst thing in the world, where the mayor was essentially saying, well, what are we going to do? We can't let people filibuster the meeting. So if that's a choice they make, to speak over their 3 minutes, to be disruptive, to not listen to the mayor running then ultimately it could lead to, because what else are we going to do? We're just going to let people, shout down our city business.
Well, the other thing is you can just step outside the room and watch the live stream. So it's not like you're being denied access to the meeting and watching the meeting. If you're asked to leave, you can just continue to watch the meeting on your phone. You just won't have the ability to interrupt it.
Yeah. And I didn't like when Commissioner Moran, when it was said the person will be asked to leave, he jumped to, they're going to put their hands on them. And that's not how I followed the conversation going at the pre-agenda.
That's like worst case scenario.
Right. And if at all, right? If at all, maybe, so I don't know if they're necessarily going to put hands on somebody because they were asked to leave twice. There may be follow-up. There may be follow-up legal action, but it doesn't.
That's a form of civil disobedience forcing the police to physically remove somebody is a force of a family. So are we going to see that civil disobedience? We've seen it before. I don't think there's any reason to think we won't.
But in the past, instead of having people leave, the meetings were shut down. The council chose to shut down the meetings. It will be interesting. I may go in 2 weeks and aggressively applaud and see what happens, guys. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
We'll visit you in Boston Spa.
Yeah.
Adam, you'll post my bail, right?
Exactly.
Well, I hope we can maintain this nice kind of civility and positivity that we're all feeling, and kind of that vibe that we had at the inauguration, because that's just in the best interest of everybody, all Saratogians. We want to see productive and, successful meetings.
Yes.
All right, kiddos, we're coming up on an hour. Should we, do you guys have some quick cheers and jeers before we log off?
I've got some quick ones. Yeah.
All right. Let's hear them, Dan. Let's see if do I still have my cheers and jeers animation? I think I do. Oh yeah. Wow. Look at that.
Well, we don't get a new one for 2024.
I know. God. No, you still have my circa 1992 one.
Yeah.
But what do you have, Dan?
Okay. Real quick, because we already talked about it. I love New Year's Eve. I got to mention that again. The inauguration. I love that. I've got, and it's not going to be a jeer, but it's a real disappointment within the positive of the inauguration. And maybe he had a valid excuse, but I was really disappointed, not surprised, but disappointed that Mayor Kim was not there. Past Commissioner Montanino was there. It's a foundation of our democracy that we have the peaceful transfer of power. The mayor of this city, again, in fairness, maybe he had a family member ill, but barring something like that, he should have been there, and I'm disappointed. Not a jeer, but I'm disappointed.
I hear that. Do you have a cheer for us? Oh, you did your cheer. New Year's Eve.
I had, because I had the disappointment within the cheer.
Right. Adam, what do you got?
I want to cheer Mayor Safford. I thought his first meeting and his first pre-agenda meeting, I watched them. The city came in and set the tone of a leader who's, all right, these are the rules we'll follow. He wasn't, I think Commissioner Shanklin and Commissioner Moran were trying to bait him in a little bit into why he came up with these policies and how they're going to affect people. And he just was very steady in his course and did something that when we saw Mayor Kim with kind of a mandate of taking over I'm getting rid of the city attorneys and safety, on day one, trying to revolutionize the office, where Mayor Safford just kind of came in, I thought was very respectful of the office, respectful that he's new to the office, but respectful to the role he plays, and just kind of as a leader, adult in the room, saying, "Listen, these rules, we're all going to play by him. Let's be productive." So that's my cheer. I do not have a jeer today.
Well, I just want to kind of uplift this current spirit that Commissioner Golub articulated of anyone who wants to get things done will engage with, regardless of party, because I do know that this is the first Republican mayor in over a decade. I do know that party politics are likely lurking in the background, but it would just be great for them to stay in the background as long as possible and to really, keep going with this city over party mentality as long as we can, because I truly don't think partisanship has a place on the city council. The issues facing Saratoga aren't traditionally partisan. It's not like paid parking is a Republican or a Democratic issue. Like, really none of the issues are. And so I don't think voting at the city council table should be. And so I hope we're able to kind of continue on with this city over party vibe. I think that would be awesome. I'm going to do a double cheer. My double cheer, Dan, I'm doing this for both of us. This is for our favorite team, the Bills. I need good Bills vibes, guys, going into Sunday. Good Bills vibes. Right, Dan?
Sunday night. Hey, if they can't beat this hobbled Miami team, then they don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Or, that wasn't really the cheer I was looking for.
Well, I sorry, lifelong fan. I've gone through the rough times. So, but they're going to beat them, of course. I guess is my point.
Exactly. And I just wish it was a not 8:20 game. I'm going to have a little struggle staying awake, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, as we said earlier, we will be back to our regular Wednesday schedule. You can find us anywhere you watch podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube station so you can get alerts when we go live on Wednesdays. And I'm looking forward to season 3, you guys.
And look at that. We kept the first one under an hour.
I know. All right. Over and out.